So we've got Chris Gage. Chris, I'll introduce you all a bit more after this. We've got Orb Toshi, we've got Grant, and we've got Joseph. And as I said before, I'm Gami, like origami. So I'll take a seat. Yeah, so today I think we're here to answer like a question that we hear pretty regularly. And it's what the fuck is nouns?
What the fuck is nouns?
WTF.
Yeah, exactly. It's at nouns.wtf for a reason, because when Punk 4156, Gremplin, E-Boy, 9999, all the guys got together, there's 10 founders that founded the project. I guess they realized early on that it's pretty weird. It's, it's grown quickly. We've currently got about 30,000 Ethereum in our treasury, and we spend it on all sorts of things. Like we did a collaboration with Bud Light, where we did a Super Bowl commercial together and brought out a beer with the Noggles. These are Noggles, by the way. Don't check what Noggles says on Urban Dictionary, by the way.
Do not Google that.
Yeah, don't Google that. But essentially, these 10 Nounders came together and formed Nouns DAO. And what it is it's a daily auction of an NFT that's fully on-chain on Ethereum. All the funds go into a treasury, and then as a community, we determine how to spend that treasury. Like I mentioned before, things like Bud Light commercial, product collaborations, sending things into space, extreme sports teams. We've got an esports team who play competitive video gaming. They beat Sam Bankman-Fried's team, which was the FTX STM, I think. They're like the most famous team in Dota 2 in gaming, and we crushed them. And how crazy is it? Like they came to us and got like a $25,000 grant, but FTX had to pay $25 million to sponsor STM. So we're like a grassroots community of builders. And on that note, who I've got here today are a bunch of diverse people who all build on nouns in different ways. Me personally, I'm a nouner. I have Noun 189, which is the little skateboard guy, and Noun 401, which is a boombox. But the people to my right here are not noun owners, but they've been delegated nouns, and they part-own nouns through all sorts of different things. So I guess I want to sort of hand off to each of them where they can share their experience building on top of nouns and having this experience of sort of putting on the noggles, seeing the world the way that we see it, and opening up all these opportunities. And I guess to close out in what I wanted to say, I like to think of nouns like a gaming console, and your subculture is the cartridge. So if you have, like me, I've got a long history in skateboarding, building big communities within that industry with loads of connections, and I wanted to bring everyone together. And now we've got like famous skateboarders like Dave Bashinsky, Kevin Kowalski, Tom Raw. We've got Taylor Elliott, famous snowboarder, big wave surfer, Luis Haddad. We have a team of 12 amazing athletes representing what it is we do. And we're currently doing some amazing work in places like Brazil, where it used to be illegal to skate until like 10 years ago. So keep an eye out in the next couple of weeks. There's going to be some big stuff coming out of there. And if you've ever played Tony Hawk Pro Skater, you will know of Bob Burnquist, and he's a member of NAS DAO and votes in our governance. So it's like my childhood dream coming true. So on the note of dreams coming true, I've got a couple of dream boats here to my right. I'm going to hand off first to Chris. Chris is a multidisciplinary creative. He does all sorts of things on top of nouns, and he's a great example of someone in the community who was like quite new to crypto and found nouns as a place to use as a platform to build things that he cares about. So welcome to Chris Gage.
Thanks, Gami. I'm going to just lift these up briefly, because I think this accessibility of nouns is kind of what I'm become really excited about. I first became aware of nouns, like listening to Tim Ferriss' podcast sometime last year, and I'm like, DAOs sound friggin' interesting. I want to get me in a DAO. And then I went and looked at nouns, and I was like, yeah, right, how is that relevant to me in any way, shape, or form? And I kind of filed it away and got myself a wallet and messed around trying to work out how to make or do anything in this space for a while. And then I saw a tweet, actually, from Gami, going, I just got 69 ETH off Nouns DAO. And
it was 69 for a reason, by the way. It was mathematical, and we'd done the balance sheets and all that sort of stuff. So.
Technical.
And
sorry about that.
and what you said in that tweet was, I got 69 ETH. You don't have to own a noun to do this. Why aren't you building here? And I was like, huh? Okay, why aren't I building here? And I jumped in and I started having a few conversations, and I managed to get myself funded an ETH for a crazy idea I had to, like, what does a profile picture look like in profile? And it turns out it's basically a 1 pixel strip of color.
It's like this.
With some logos on the side. And that became noun profiles. And yeah, that ETH was enough for me as just someone going like, what am I doing? How am I creating? To go, oh, cool, okay, that's interesting. And then turns out, as soon as you've built something, you're eligible to be part of the Nouncil, which is the Nounish Council of Builders. And at that point, if you are passionate, if you're interested in building, you're basically in. You're welcomed in. The literal criteria are, has built something on nouns and is willing to participate in governance.
And nouns will have some serious power now.
Yeah.
How many nouns are delegated to the Nouncil now?
I think it's 13 at the moment.
14, I believe, actually.
Thank you.
So they have a lot of weight in the voting, and they determine the outcome.
Right, yeah. There's probably about 5% of the active votes, I'd say. And it's someone that people really listen to because, there's a bunch of finance guys, essentially, own a whole ton of nouns. And
how many members now in the Nouncil?
I think we're near 100.
I think over 100.
Are we over 100?
Yep.
Okay, nice.
It's growing quite fast.
Because it is open, and this is the really exciting thing, and kind of the main message that I'm really passionate about is, if nounishness appeals to you, if this massive, wild, decentralized experiment in governance kind of gets you excited, then come and build. Join in, make something. You can get a proposal up for, you don't even have to know anyone.
Do you need a
in nouns.
noun to build on nouns? Do you need a noun?
No, you do not, Otoshi.
That's crazy.
I thought you did when I first started, though. So,
Yeah,
I scrambled together when the first skateboard popped up, and basically I had to buy it because I publicly said I would. And then afterwards, they're like, you don't need a noun to get funded. I was like, oh, oh well.
But because you invested that way, people really recognize what you're doing. And I don't think it matters how you do it, how you invest. It doesn't have to be ETH, it just needs to be time and passion. And that might be a really great point to hand over to...
Oh, nice.
Yeah, what a great example. So, by the way, this is Obtoshi. She's in charge of Nouns on the Ground.
Hi.
And
I'll take these
welcome,
notes as well, that's
Obtoshi.
much better. Hello. Nice to meet you guys. I'm Obtoshi with Nouns on the Ground. I do a lot of Twitter spaces and AUAs, like Ask Us Anything in our Discord. And I think that what I just want to address immediately is that there's a lot of language within the Nounish ecosystem that we are also used to, and so we're probably just saying a lot of words that you guys are like, what does that even mean? And so...
Did I miss the POAP?
Yeah, you did not miss the POAP, not yet. We're big POAP people, by the way. Nouns loves POAP. Actually, the founders of POAP are big Nounish whales, and so I think they love nouns as well.
But in a good way too.
Oh, yeah.
Like Patricio delegates all of his nouns, right?
So that's going to be the first word that I want to go over, delegation. So you don't need a noun to build on nouns. How is that even possible? Currently, to do an on-chain proposal in the Nouns DAO governance, you need 2 nouns to post it, right? So that's just an on-chain option. That means that that treasury he was talking about that's over 25,000 ETH right now, the only way to access any of those funds is by putting a proposal on-chain and then the members of the DAO voting on that proposal. You have to match quorum, and if you beat quorum with that yes vote, funded. There's no person in between. It's right on the blockchain. 2 days later, it just comes to the wallet that was designated in the proposal itself. That's obviously huge. These are going to be like our much bigger asks. Probably anything, I would say, 25 ETH and up. We've seen people, Nounish is actually a media company that kind of converted their whole 10-person media company to be just for nouns. I believe that they got funded 888 ETH. Right, so
and like Academy Award nominated or something like that. I don't know if I'm overselling that, but
yes,
they're
no,
like
not
really
overselling.
reputable people, you know, like.
Yes, and we want big brain ideas. You do not have to know what nouns are to sort of have an idea that you would want to build on nouns, right? But you're gonna want, if you have like sort of a larger idea, you're gonna want to get into the community, meet nouns, right? Because then someone can actually sponsor your proposal on chain. So that's the second way that you can get a proposal on chain. Someone can sponsor you. I currently have a proposal on chain. If you go to nouns.wtf, and then you click the little DAO button, you'll see all the proposals that have ever happened. Prop 166 is actually my prop. The voting ends tomorrow, but I think it's safe to call it, because I think I have like 170 yeses.
Smashed it.
Smashed it. But thanks to, you know, the people that I've met in the community, I've gotten to, with nouns on the ground, my focus as a builder has been going IRL. I'm trying to go to NFT crypto events, and I'm also trying to go to events that have nothing to do with NFTs or crypto, because I think that this symbol of the noggles and then what nouns represents, which is really just funding for builders, right? Anyone should be able to access that, knowing about crypto or not. So I think it's a great entry point for people who maybe don't know about it. The other way, if you do not have a noun and you don't have a sponsor and your ask is a little bit smaller, maybe it's under 20 ETH, we do have an amazing program. It was actually my entry point into nouns. It's called Prop House, prop.house. And that has grown significantly since the first day that I entered. There was one house there. Now there's multiple houses. You'll see other NFT companies, On-Chain Monkeys are in there.
Ones that aren't even nouns related.
Yeah.
Ones that aren't even nouns related, right? And so people will put up a prop. So let's say noun says, we're gonna fund 5 people 2 ETH, pitch us your idea, right? All you need is a wallet address to pitch your idea. Anyone can pitch right now if there's an open round. Little Nouns is on there, food nouns, which we'll get to shortly when we start talking about sub-DAOs and forking the code, but you know, that's another way that you could do it, but that final way that you could sort of get something funded as a project on nouns would be delegation. And so, like Gami said, he is a nouner. A nouner is a noun holder, someone that owns nouns. A nounder is one of the founding 9 members of the DAO, right? So a delegate is gonna be what I am. So this little noun has been delegated to me. And through the actual governance on the page, like someone could just sign and connect their wallet with a noun and then just assign it to a wallet, right? So my particular noun holder is a very busy person doing a lot of incredible things with AI, and so he doesn't necessarily have the time to participate in the governance piece. We obviously want as many holders as possible using their votes so that we can like maintain this above 30% average within the DAO of people voting and participating. So he is now able to say, hey, maybe there's another community member that's really involved that could take on this governance part, so he's delegated me his noun. I do not own this noun. He still owns it. It's in his wallet. But I am allowed to now connect on the site and vote actually within the governance. And so I've just been able to do that over the last month. It's been really awesome, but very intense. A lot of people who just come in as builders, I think, are like, I want to participate in the governance. It's like, okay.
Yeah, but also like to speak to Obtoshi's impact too, like has anyone here heard of the show Robot Chicken? Like Seth Green, Stupid Buddy? Yeah, so she's working with their studio for the Rose Day Parade that happens at New Year's in LA. It's like 1 million people turn out. There's a huge nouns float with life-size Nounish mascots, and you're working there to do the on-the-ground activation. So
Yep.
you can make anything happen, and there's plenty of funds to get behind that. So
You can make anything happen. My first ever funding round was 2 ETH, and I'm going to pass it off to Grant or Sheffo now as well too, but I do wanted to say Prop 166, if you go look at it, that is the prop we're talking about with Robot Chicken. If anyone's in Los Angeles on New Year's, hit me up and I'll try to figure out how to get you maybe like on the float or something.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
It's all so much fun, and I think that you can kind of tell that we're all in a really good mood. Coming into the Nouns ecosystem, for me personally, and I think a lot of other people, has created a communal feeling that is hard to find in other parts of the NFT ecosystem. Events like this really show off the diversity of the current state of NFTs and the future of NFTs. But for us, we kind of just find ourselves in our little community, and it's this wonderful safe space that, really truly functions on a daily basis, actually on like an hourly basis. There's more going on than I think any one person really can put their finger on. One of the things that's recently happened in our ecosystem is the closing of the official Discord. It's been switched to read-only, which is fairly shocking, and it was actually a big deal in our community. But the thought behind that is that it's going to create decentralization, which is why we're here. And so by essentially forcing people to go learn about other communities and go join other Discords that are Nounish sub-communities. So within that, I will introduce myself and Food Nouns. I go by Sheffo. I have a sub-DAO. We're one of the, I think, first 6 sub-DAOs. We're a true hard fork of the Nouns DAO protocol. Within my journey, I came to Prop House, as they were describing, and I wanted to do a cookbook. I wanted a couple ETH. I was going to do a cookbook. I had a revelation one day that food items are nouns: cheese, steak, chicken, broccoli. Those are nouns. And so within that, I wanted to make a cookbook and then cook a broccoli dish, a chicken dish, yada yada.
He's a professionally trained chef. That's why he's interested in food.
There's
I haven't tried his food yet, though.
We'll do that, hopefully down under. But, the fascinating thing for me was I didn't get any attention for my cookbook. There was so much going on. This was the very first round of Prop House. There's a lot of really talented, high-level developers in the ecosystem, and it's fairly dev-heavy. So it just wasn't one of those things that was ringing with the group at the time. And so instead of getting frustrated, I got motivated, and I forked it. And I worked with a developer, and we forked the Nouns, and one of my goals was to keep it very similar. It looks the same. It functions fairly similarly. We changed a few of the dynamics that are built into the auction. So we built a payment splitter that portions off 25% of every food noun. Those proceeds go back to the Nouns DAO. And so at this point in time, Food Nouns is a fairly young sub-DAO, but we've contributed, I believe, $5,000 or $6,000 to the main DAO. And that money, I don't know where that goes. That will go to support builders that I may never meet one day. And we're really proud of that. And it kind of speaks to the combination of the energy and the ideas and the thought that everyone can, elevate, and high tide raises all boats. I tried to have a term to kind of bring it home for this, and for me it was amalgamation. In the kitchen, when you talk about amalgamation, it's the combination of two things or multiple things coming together, whether you're making a sauce or you make a ceviche and it doesn't quite taste the same way as it does the next day, or you make a delicious meat sauce and it tastes better the next day. That's a chemical reaction that's happening where basically molecules are creating new compounds and creating those flavors. And so for me, that's kind of what's happening in the Nouns ecosystem. We see an amalgamation of people and ideas, countries, artistic styles, and it really comes together in this way where without knowing exactly everything that's going on at NARS or everything that's going on with profiles, I can get a general sense of it because it's Nounish, and we are working to not fully come together, but blend in this beautiful, tasty way. And there's still these like flavor notes of individuality throughout the ecosystem. So for me, it was just one of these experiences to take my life as a chef and transform it into a Web3 governance-based community. Currently, we're working with a a food pantry at the Florida Gulf Coast University. They were decimated by Hurricane Ian. And so for us, this is going to be one of our first things where we're going to do a cookbook for college students to inspire cooking. We, in the beginning of our sub-DAO, we basically decided to go and have 4 main pillars. Within the Nouns DAO ecosystem, it's a very generalized thing, and it's general for a reason so that it can attract anybody. When you start to get into the sub-communities, it becomes a little bit more specific. So for us, we're focused on food and production of food, education around food, hospitality, wellness, making sure that chefs and people who work in the industry are staying healthy, and having fun with food, because if you're not having fun with food, you're probably not going to be attracted to that. So for us, food and Web3 come together really nicely with the Nouns ecosystem. It's open, and it's based on governance, and it's very empowering.
And on that note too, it's like the diversity of people that are getting involved come from all different backgrounds, you know, like
Every background.
yeah, and what we've heard just between the 4 of us so far is very diverse. And then we have someone like Joseph from Croatia, right? And you're
Yes.
like, he's only 22 years old, and he's like doing all these things in Web3, but also contributing to Nouns, and you've gotten involved in your own unique way, right?
Yes, so I found about Nouns, I believe it was when you were in NFT NYC 2021, when it was the Brave takeover. So Nouns did a collaboration with the Brave browser, where every time you opened a new page on the Brave browser, you saw Nouns. And I got introduced to Nouns, and I started to look at it. I was like, what the fuck is this? And after some time, I started to realize, okay, this is amazing. The community is amazing. You have multiple sub-DAOs. It's CCO, meaning everybody can use it. Everybody can fork it. It's open source.
I think that's the first time we've used the term on the panel, CC0.
Yeah.
Good point.
It's the easiest way to understand it. There's no copyright.
Yeah.
You can take the noggles, the NFTs, the name, you can go start a company. No one's going to
Yes.
take that away from you. There's 0 copyright.
I think this is very good, because I dabble a lot in the brand and Web3 space with different brands who are in the Web2 that want to enter the Web3 space. And we've proposed them, we've explained to them, and we're educating them about the Nouns, and they started to realize that they want to incorporate Nouns into their products. They want to help to grow the ecosystem, to create some cool activations. And we recently did in Croatia. This was quite fascinating. Like, the first NFT exhibition in Croatia happened 3 months ago, and be aware it's like 4 million people in Croatia, so it's not a big country. And the NFT space crypto space is small, but the NFT space is like 20 people. We had in Rixos Hotel in Dubrovnik, there was a big like traditional art gallery, and they had NFTs, and they asked me to curate them, and I was like, all right, let's put Nouns on it. And let's do pops, let's do links, let's educate people about the Nouns, and it was amazing.
It's actually probably worth mentioning too, you might see on the screen it says Sam Mason de Caires, and Joseph is not Sam, in case you were wondering. But to mention Sam quickly, he's a builder that was someone working on Foundation. Has anyone heard of Foundation.app, the NFT marketplace? So he's someone else who, from a builder's perspective, has come in to Nouns actually through NARS, so through my fork of Nouns, and he's contributing to our code base and doing all these exciting things. And through that, he is introduced to all these other people. And that amalgamation that Grant mentioned earlier is a really good sort of segue into Sam not being here. Unfortunately, he's moving. But through that amalgamation, it's sort of opened up other opportunities where he's met people that he finds interesting with ideas that he'd like to help bring to life as well. So, you know, whether you're a creative, a developer, a marketer, just a person that likes hanging out and having fun, there's a space for each and every one of you. And I guess like I like to sort of, analogize and put together all these different taglines on Twitter and stuff. And I guess recently one that's sort of been catching on is, find your people, explore new places, do your thing. And, Nouns are literally people, places, and things. So if you want to get involved, I think reach out to any of us during the event. Check out Nouns DAO on Twitter.
Another good resource is nouns.center. You can
Great one.
see a lot of projects, all the traits of the NFTs, information
Funding.
about the governance systems, and all of that.
Unfortunately, we have to cut it there.
And we love to talk about Nouns, so
Yeah,
come
just
hang
tackle
out.
us in the hallway. We're ready.
Thank you.
Thanks.